Because what unfolded over 4 days on the California coast wasn't just a bad tournament or an off week. This was something deeper, something darker, and the way Scheffler handled it has everyone wondering if the $20 million weight of expectations is crushing even him. What actually happened that has analysts comparing this to Tiger's worst meltdowns? Why did Scheffler's caddy make a decision that's never been seen before? And is this the beginning of a collapse that nobody saw coming? Let's be brutally honest about where Scottie Scheffler stands right now. He's not just the world's number one, he's the most dominant force in golf since Tiger Woods at his peak. 8 PGA Tour wins in 2024 alone, 2 major championships, the FedEx Cup title, over $62 million in career earnings. He's been so consistently excellent, so mentally unshakable, that the golf world started treating his dominance as inevitable and boring. Scottie shows up, Scottie wins, Scottie collects another check. That was the narrative. That was the expectation. That was the $20 million pressure cooker that nobody thought could possibly crack him. But Pebble Beach 2026 shattered that illusion completely. And the way it happened, the specific moments that broke him down, revealed cracks in Scheffler's armor that nobody knew existed. This wasn't just about bad shots or unlucky breaks. This was about a player visibly struggling under pressure in ways we've never seen from him before. Thursday started normally enough. Scheffler opened with a solid 68 3-under par, exactly the kind of steady professional golf that's defined his career. Nothing spectacular, nothing disastrous, just Scottie being Scottie. He was 4 shots off the lead, perfectly positioned to make a weekend move. Commentators praised his patience and course management. Analysts predicted he'd grind his way into contention by Sunday. Everything felt predictable and safe. Then came Friday, and the wheels started coming off in slow motion. Scheffler's opening 9 holes were a disaster, 3 bogeys and only 1 birdie, leaving him 2 over for the day and suddenly flirting with the cut line. For a player who almost never misses cuts, who prides himself on consistency and mental toughness, this was already shocking. But what happened on the back 9 was where things got truly insane and revealed something nobody expected. The 14th hole at Pebble Beach, a short par 5 that's basically a guaranteed birdie opportunity for tour professionals, became the scene of Scheffler's complete meltdown. His tee shot found the fairway perfectly, leaving him just 220 yards to the green with a chance to get back under par and stabilize his round. This is the kind of situation Scheffler converts 90% of the time. Routine golf for the world's best player. But Scheffler's approach shot flew way right, sailing over the green and into thick rough that's almost impossible to escape from. The gallery went silent. Commentators started stumbling over their words, trying to explain what they'd just witnessed. And then things got worse. Scheffler's chip shot from the rough came out fat, barely advancing the ball 10 yards and leaving him still off the green with another difficult pitch ahead. What happened next is what has the entire golf world in absolute shock. Scheffler's caddy, Ted Scott, normally calm and professional, turned to his player and said something that cameras caught audio of. "You're not thinking clearly right now. Step back." That moment, that public acknowledgement from a caddy that his player was mentally compromised, has never been seen before at this level. Caddies don't call out their players on camera during tournaments. They support, they encourage, they problem solve quietly. But Scott's intervention was so direct and so public that it immediately went viral. Scheffler did step back, took 3 deep breaths that cameras zoomed in on, and eventually made bogey on the hole. But the damage was done. He finished Friday with a 74, 5 over par, and missed the cut at Pebble Beach for the first time in his career. The world's number 1 player, the guy who'd been untouchable for 2 years, was going home early from one of golf's most prestigious events. The post-round interview was painful to watch. Scheffler looked exhausted, not physically, but mentally drained in a way nobody had seen from him before. When asked about the pressure of maintaining his number 1 ranking and living up to enormous expectations week after week, Scheffler's response sent shockwaves through the golf community. "Sometimes the weight gets heavier than you want to admit," he said quietly. "You try to push through it, but today I couldn't. Today it won." That admission, that public vulnerability, from a player known for being mentally bulletproof, changed everything. That this wasn't just a bad week. This was Scottie Scheffler admitting that the pressure was affecting him, that the expectations were becoming unbearable, that even he had limits to what he could handle mentally. Golf analysts immediately started drawing comparisons to other dominant players who'd cracked under sustained pressure. Tiger Woods' struggles in the late 2000s, Rory McIlroy's repeated major championship collapses after his early success, Jordan Spieth's 2016 2016 Masters meltdown that seemed to break something inside him for years. The pattern was terrifyingly clear. Sustained dominance creates unsustainable pressure, and eventually, even the strongest mental games crack under the weight. Behind the scenes, reports started leaking that Scheffler had been showing signs of strain for weeks before Pebble Beach. Multiple sources described him as more withdrawn in locker rooms, less engaged with other players, and visibly tense during practice rounds. One fellow pro, speaking anonymously, said Scotty looked like a guy carrying the world on his shoulders and nobody was allowed to help him put it down. The $20 million figure isn't arbitrary. That's roughly what Scheffler earned in 2024 between prize money, bonuses, and endorsements. But it's also the expectation that comes with being number one. Every tournament he enters, he's expected to contend. Every major championship, he's expected to win or at least be in the conversation on Sunday. Every shot is analyzed, every decision questioned, every moment scrutinized by millions of people who've decided that Scotty Scheffler being dominant is the new normal and anything less is failure. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. On Monday after Pebble Beach, Scheffler made a decision that shocked everyone and showed he's at least aware of the problem even if he doesn't know how to solve it yet. He withdrew from the next tournament on his schedule, citing the need for mental rest and time with family. For a player who almost never skips events, who prides himself on showing up and competing week after week, this was a massive red flag that something fundamental had shifted. The withdrawal sent the golf media into overdrive. Was Scheffler taking a smart break to reset mentally? Or was this the beginning of a longer spiral where the pressure had broken something that couldn't be easily fixed? Opinions were split dramatically. Some praised his self-awareness and willingness to prioritize mental health. Others worried this was the exact wrong move, that stepping away would only make coming back harder and increase the pressure when he did return. Scheffler's team released a statement saying he needed time to recharge and refocus, that the demands of maintaining his position at the top of the sport had been more draining than anticipated, and that he'd return when he felt mentally ready to compete at the level he expects from himself. The statement was professional and measured, but reading between the lines revealed something more concerning. Scheffler wasn't sure when he'd be ready to come back. This wasn't a scheduled week off. This was an open-ended break with no return date, which suggested the mental struggle was deeper than anyone outside his inner circle realized. Meanwhile, the golf world started asking uncomfortable questions about the modern game and whether the level of scrutiny and expectation placed on top players had become toxic and unsustainable. Social media amplifies every mistake. Data analytics expose every weakness. Constant television coverage means there's nowhere to hide. And the financial stakes, with tens of millions of dollars on the line every season, create pressure that previous generations of golfers never experienced. Some analysts argued that Scheffler's struggle was inevitable given the impossible standards he'd set for himself. When you win 8 times in a season, anything less the next year feels like failure, even if it would be the best year of most. Built careers around mental toughness and ice-cold composure. But ask any of them about facing Tiger Woods in his prime, and something shifts. The voice changes. The eyes go somewhere else. And what comes out isn't just respect or admiration. It's something closer to genuine fear. What did Tiger actually do to these men psychologically? Why do legends like Jack Nicklaus, Phil Mickelson, and Ernie Els still struggle to fully explain the experience? And how did one golfer make the entire field feel defeated before a single shot was even hit? Let's start with the number that explains everything. Between 1999 and 2002, Tiger Woods entered 40 tournaments and won 18 of them. Nearly half. In a sport where winning 20% of your events over a career makes you an all-time great, Tiger was winning 45% during a 3-year stretch that defied every statistical model ever built around professional golf. But the raw numbers don't capture what it actually felt like to be on the same course as him. The numbers tell you Tiger was dominant. The legends tell you Tiger was something else entirely. Something that kept them awake at night before Sunday rounds and haunted them for years after their careers ended. Ernie Els, a 2-time US Open champion and one of the most gifted ball strikers of his generation, described playing alongside Tiger during peak dominance as psychologically devastating in ways he'd never experienced against any other competitor. Els said that when you're paired with Tiger on Sunday, you don't just play the golf course, you play Tiger, the crowd, the history, and your own fear simultaneously. He described watching Tiger drain a long birdie putt and feeling something physically change in his own body, a tightening in the chest, a heaviness in the legs that had nothing to do with fitness and everything to do with watching someone operate on a level that made you question everything you thought you knew about the game. Els won 2 majors and spent years inside the top 5 in the world. He was genuinely elite. And yet he described facing Tiger as feeling fundamentally outmatched in ways that had nothing to do with technique or talent. It was psychological, it was emotional, and it was absolutely devastating to experience from inside the ropes. But here's what made Tiger truly terrifying beyond just the skills and the statistics. It was the psychological warfare he conducted without saying a single word. Phil Mickelson, who faced Tiger more times than almost anyone, and who had his own incredible career with 6 major championships, described the experience of walking alongside Tiger on Sunday afternoon as a masterclass in silent domination. Tiger would make a birdie, look at the leaderboard, and then walk to the next tee with an expression that said, "I'm not done," and everyone within 50 yards could feel it like a physical force pressing down on them. Mickelson revealed that Tiger had a specific ability to make everyone around him feel like the tournament was already over, even when the math clearly said it wasn't. Phil described a moment during the 2000 season where he was only 2 shots behind Tiger heading into the back 9, completely within striking distance, and yet somehow felt like he was 10 behind. The gap wasn't on the scorecard, it was in his head, and Tiger had put it there without speaking a single word or making a single gesture designed to intimidate. Just by being Tiger Woods, he made Phil Mickelson feel beaten before the game was decided. If you're getting chills from these stories, smash that like button and subscribe, because golf legends have barely scratched the surface of how terrifying Tiger really was. Jack Nicklaus, the man whose major championship record Tiger spent his entire career chasing, offered perhaps the most chilling assessment of all. Nicklaus, who dominated his own era so completely that he understood what true excellence felt like from the inside, said that Tiger at his peak did something no other golfer in history had ever done. He made winning feel inevitable, not probable, not likely, inevitable. Nicklaus explained that every other great player, including himself, had weeks where they were beatable, where opponents could sense vulnerability and smell an opening. Tiger eliminated those openings completely during his dominant years. When Tiger was leading after 54 holes, the tournament felt decided. Not probably decided, actually decided, and everyone in the field knew it and felt it pressing down on their shoulders. Nicklaus went further, saying something that stopped every interviewer who heard it cold. He said that he never felt fear playing golf against anyone in his own career. Not Arnie Palmer, not Gary Player, not Lee Trevino, not Tom Watson. He competed against all of them with full confidence and genuine belief that he could win. But watching Tiger operate at his peak made even Nicklaus wonder privately whether, if he were 30 years younger and in his own prime, he would have found a way to compete. That admission from the greatest major champion in history tells you everything about how terrifying Tiger actually was. The crowds made it exponentially worse for everyone trying to beat former world #1 David Duval, who was arguably the second best player in the world during the late 1990s and actually held the #1 ranking briefly before Tiger reclaimed it, described the roar of Tiger's galleries as a weapon, not just background noise, but an active psychological force that drained energy from everyone else in the field and poured it directly into Tiger. Duval said you'd make a great birdie and hear polite applause, then Tiger would make the same putt from the same distance, and the entire course would shake with noise that made your great shot feel completely irrelevant and forgotten instantly. Duval's career faded dramatically during Tiger's peak years, and while multiple factors contributed, he's been remarkably honest about how mentally difficult it was to compete against someone so relentlessly dominant. When you're playing your absolute best golf and still losing regularly to one player, it forces you to question whether your best is actually good enough. That kind of sustained doubt is career-destroying, and Tiger planted those seeds in almost every competitor he faced regularly. Not through trash talk or mind games, just through winning. Over and over and over again until the winning itself became the most suffocating psychological weapon imaginable. Colin Montgomery, who won 8 European Tour Order of Merit titles and was one of the most dominant players of his era on that side of the Atlantic, described an encounter with Tiger at the 2000 US Open at Pebble Beach that he said changed how he understood competitive golf forever. Tiger won that tournament by 15 shots. 15. Montgomery finished second and described it not as a loss, but as a witnessing, like watching something completely outside the normal boundaries of human athletic performance. He said standing on the 18th green after that tournament, he didn't feel like he'd lost a golf tournament. He felt like he'd been present for something historic and slightly incomprehensible that he'd spend years trying to process and explain to people who weren't there. Lee Trevino, one of the greatest ball strikers and mental competitors in golf history, watched Tiger's dominance unfold and offered an assessment that stopped everyone cold. Trevino said Tiger wasn't just beating people physically, he was breaking them spiritually. The best golfers in the world would show up on Sunday genuinely believing they could win, and by the 12th hole, they weren't competing for the title anymore. They were competing to see how close they could finish to someone who'd already decided the outcome 3 days earlier. Greg Norman, who spent 331 weeks as the world's #1 and understood elite dominance from the inside, said that Tiger possessed something he'd never seen in any other competitor. The ability to raise his performance exactly when raising it mattered most. Every other great player, including Norman himself, had limits to how much they could elevate under pressure. Tiger seemed to have no ceiling. The bigger the moment, the better he got. And that quality, that supernatural ability,